Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Conversations from Stritch. We're really excited to be with you. We just have a couple more episodes this year before we take a break for the summer. Just a few things that have been going on campus since the last time we saw you. We did have commencement, nearly 1,000 students that graduated this spring, and it was a great setup with 3 ceremonies. And really great event. We had Kay Cannon on campus. We mentioned last time that she was coming and she did a great job. If you haven't had an opportunity, I would recommend, if you didn't hear her speech, to go to our YouTube channel and you can watch Kay Cannon give her commencement address to our graduates. We also had the May Institute, which I just want to thank especially the leadership who ran the May Institute, all the faculty and staff who participated and really added to our professional development as a university. We do this every year. It's an opportunity for faculty and staff to learn from each other about different areas of the university and the different things that we're doing. And I hope that this show is also an opportunity for us to help people to understand certain things, but certainly May Institute is that place where faculty and staff can learn from each other. We did have our town hall for our 90th anniversary celebration last Friday. It was a great event. I think we had, well over 250, maybe 300 of our employees gathered together. It is the 90th anniversary of Lewis, and we did a little trivia, which was very fun. Kurt Shackmuth and Ray Kennelly did a great tag team job of running a kind of contest about who knew the most about Lewis's history. So that was very enjoyable. We were able to talk a little bit about how we've done this year, both from an enrollment and a financial perspective. And it just was a really positive, energetic, and we wrapped it up with some great food thanks to Sodexo. And it was just a great day. So we're excited about that. So with that, the year is kind of coming to a close. So, Dr. Sint, we do have some announcements about still some things going on academically on campus. In spite of the school year being over, scholars continue to produce.
Yeah, that's right. Hi, everyone. Great to be with you. And I'm just kind of processing all the stuff that you just mentioned. There's so many amazing activities that have happened at Lewis over the last several weeks, and we've talked about a lot of them here, and they've been fun, and it makes me tired thinking about all we've done as a community lately. So I just have a couple kind of catch-up things actually to talk about because our announcements have not covered all the great stuff. So one of the major things I wanted to mention today is that we hosted the second Special Olympics Illinois Plane Poll on April 30th, way back in April 30th. The event raised over $33,000 for Special Olympics Illinois and brought hundreds of people to the Romeoville campus having fun in that picture. United Airlines partnered with Lewis to present the fundraising event, and the village of Romeoville Police Department, Sodexo, and Republic Airways all sponsored all got together to sponsor the plane poll. There were over 30 teams that participated. 2 Lewis University alumni, Captain Lee Augustin and Captain Raymond Sanchez, actually flew the Republic Airlines aircraft onto campus that was used in the plane poll. The Lewis University Aviation Fraternity, Alpha Eta Rho, not only competed but won its division for Lewis and was in the top 4 overall in the competition. So they got a trophy, and it's on display with many other of those trophies, similar trophies, for aviation accomplishments at the Harold E. White Aviation Center. Congratulations. So thank you to especially our aviation faculty and leadership who really put a lot of work into making that event successful, as well as many other aspects of our campus police and facilities too. Congratulations to senior psychology student Aubrey Smith, who presented Fact or Fad, investigating the effect of cognitive load on the effectiveness of fidget toys on April 22nd at the Midwestern Psychological Association Conference in Chicago. It was presented during the International Honor Society poster session. Dr. Philip Blankenship, her assistant professor of psychology, served as her sponsor, and Dr. Blankenship also presented at the conference, presenting a paper he co-authored called Humans Exhibit Differences in Route Efficiency When Navigating Environmental Space. So 2 fascinating topics to me, by the way, fidgets and how people move through space is always so cool to learn about in these scholarly studies. And then finally, congratulations to Dr. Christy Billups, Associate Professor of Theology and Peace and Justice Studies, who was recently featured in an article by Denise Barron-Unland in the Joliet Herald News. Dr. Billups was highlighted because of her unique class this semester and many other semesters previous to this semester that connects Lewis University students with incarcerated individuals. During the course, students learn of inmate stories and oftentimes build relationships. So congratulations to those faculty and students who had those accomplishments. And I know, as you said, it keeps happening all summer. So the next time we have one more show, I think, next week after today, and then we'll start building up a lot over the summer. So athletics is also come to a conclusion for the spring.
Come to a close. I didn't see this paper or read about it, but do we know whether fidget toys are effective or not?
I sure hope so. They work for me.
I know I was gonna. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so athletics is wrapping up. The Great Lakes Valley Conference announced this week that Lewis University Athletic Department finished second in both the 2021-2022 GLVC All Sports Trophy and the Commissioner's Cup standing. This marks Lewis's second straight runner-up finish in both standings. And I just want to say, let me finish about what they are about. So the GLVC All Sports Trophy is presented to the institution that demonstrates the best all-around performance in the league's 24 sponsored sports. Points are allocated based on finish in the respective sports across the conference tournaments. Indianapolis won the All Sports Trophy for the 10th straight year, followed by the Flyers, who won conference championships in men's cross country, women's volleyball, women's indoor and outdoor track and field. And I guess I just want to say that though we keep finishing second is incredible in a really intense field. These are great schools that we compete with, kind of week in and week out through the school year. And our student athletes have done just amazing work. And not only on the field, but also in the classroom. You and I think we talked about this at our last show, but we're able to go to several awards ceremony throughout the month of April, but a few of them were connected to student athletes. So congratulations to all their success on the court, the pitch, the field, but also to what they do in the classroom. So the COVID cases actually, as a country, keep rising. Chris, I just saw that we're up now over 100,000 cases, at least in the place that I saw, and up 57% across the country. But there do seem to be some changes in terms of this virus. So we have some stuff in terms of what's going on campus.
Yeah, they are also rising in our county, and I guess that's pretty gradual compared to what we certainly saw back in January. But as of Tuesday, there were 371 cases per 100,000 residents in Will County, which is an increase, and our positivity ratio was 13.75, another increase. And that really puts, again, we've talked about the real important indicator from the CDC now is that community level, which incorporates hospitalizations into the mix, and it's moved into the medium range the last couple weeks, which still doesn't require any mitigations or changes in our policies, but it is a shift in level from the low to the medium. And we've had 5 cases last week and 2 this week as we've moved into the summer. Just a reminder of our current policies. We are mask optional and mask friendly in all spaces on campus. The members of our community are strongly encouraged to stay up to date with their vaccinations, and we will continue to follow CDC and other guidelines regarding vaccinations as they evolve. One of those guidelines that is still in place is the requirement by the state of Illinois for those who are not vaccinated to be tested and to report those tests to us. And that current order has been extended to May 28th, and we haven't heard about whether it will be extended into June. And then, as always, we require the members of our community to share their COVID-19 vaccination status, report positive cases, and continue to follow other aspects of the Flyers promise. So we're really excited now to shift to our couple of guests that we have, and the focus today is on New Flyer orientation. And I have two guests with me, and we know that there are so many people that take part in New Flyer orientation and the other work that happens over the summer to create a connected and welcoming environment for our students. But we have two people, because we only have two people who fit on our couch here, but they're awesome, and I'm going to introduce them, and then we'll start talking. So Toni Fitzpatrick is the Director of Academic Services and has been at Lewis for 3.5 years. She has worked in higher ed for 16 years in a range of areas: residence life, orientation, first year experience programs, and retention programs. And she is also a first-generation college student herself, which is I'm sure a great help to us in terms of having her perspective. Ashley Skidmore is the Vice President for Enrollment Management, and she has spent her entire career in admissions and recruiting and has worked here at Lewis for 18 years. So she has an amazing perspective on how this has been done at Lewis for so many years in different ways, I'm sure. And so welcome.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
So great to have you here.
Really great to have you back, I think, for both of you.
Yeah, I think
the last 2 years.
Maybe
Not on the
virtually
same
before
show.
though. So,
Yeah.
So that's
Not in studio,
yeah,
but
so it's kind
really
of a first,
great.
but yeah.
Great to have you. So
So
thanks
I
for being
think
here.
maybe to begin, just to give people a kind of big picture first, I think you have some slides to show and just kind of talk about what New Flyer orientation is, and then we can kind of get into the details and questions about it, if that's okay.
Sure.
Do you want to do historical?
Right.
Okay.
So historically speaking, orientation has been handled in kind of a two-step approach, or maybe kind of a one-step approach. We invite new students, both incoming freshmen and transfers, to attend an overnight or one-day program. In that opportunity, they get to meet classmates, they get to hear about different academic services, student support services, campus life, and it always culminates in the experience of meeting with an advisor to register for classes. Since COVID hit, we were challenged with how to convert that on-campus experience to a virtual format, which at the time also kind of marries with when Toni came and started us on a new path. And so moving into that technology has proven to be quite successful for us in terms of engaging students. And so she's taken over now, and so she has brought us to a new format. So
So basically what we've done is we've considered where orientation has been, what we've learned with technology and COVID. And so one of the wonderful things as a result is we have been able to leverage technology in a really cool way. So after our spring orientation, we sat down, as you said, with a variety of folks, because orientation is, a collaborative effort, and thought about what makes the most sense moving forward. And so what we've done is basically a hybrid model where we are still going to have virtual components, but also on-campus components. And we're going to time them in a way that we think makes the most sense for our new students and for our advisors and for all of our faculty and staff that participate in the program. The goals of orientation, if you want to put that slide up, remain the same. So this is what we're trying to achieve with the orientation experience for our new students and families. We want to provide that really seamless, smooth process for them with high quality advising, give them opportunities to connect with our faculty, staff, and students, build that, those connections, that community, get to know our LaSallian mission, experience Flyer traditions, all that good, exciting stuff, and certainly get, connected and familiar with campus resources. So the goals remain the same as previous years. It's just the way we're going to achieve those goals is a little bit different. So on the next slide, there's details on the components of orientation. So this is where you can see the breakdown of where we're virtual versus on campus. So the virtual components of orientation actually begin next week. And
Yes,
they've actually
next
already,
Wednesday.
they already started
They will.
because so much of our communication is already
Mm-hmm.
rolling to students. So students are very active in terms of taking assessments that they need for placement in appropriate courses. They're active in their My Lewis. They're even looking at degree works already, which is wonderful. So that's happening virtually. And then next week on Wednesday, May 25th, we'll have our first New Flyer registration day. And that's the advising registration component, as well as those critical areas that we know students and families want to hear from, business office and financial aid. So that will happen virtually. Students will be participating in those all summer long, and they will be meeting with their faculty advisors during that session. And then we'll continue on in the summer with some virtual options with these New Flyer nights. These are wonderful because we're really encouraging families and supporters to attend. So we'll touch on topics, again, navigating the cost of college, student life, so students will get to hear from a student panel, various areas, student activities, campus rec, all that good stuff. Academic support resources with tutoring and speech and presentation lab and the writing center, the library. And then of course technology, so there's lots of technology to learn as a new college student, so we'll go over that with them. Those will be virtual. That way, if families are in California on vacation, they can still jump on for the hour and get that good information. So we'll transition to on-campus components during Welcome Week. So all of our new freshmen and a good number of our transfer students will take Cornerstone Seminar, which is our first year experience course. As a part of that, they will be on campus for Welcome Week for 3 meetings, and that will be our on-campus orientation where we really start the year and kind of activate the campus community and welcome all of our new students. So we're super excited about those 3 days. I can touch on more detail if you'd like. And then we have parent and family orientation on campus as well, and then all sorts of student activities and programming that will occur during Welcome Week. And then very excited to say that students will all have a New Flyer guide, which will be a peer mentor in their department or college to be the person who can give them a call every once in a while and send a text to a student. And when they know it's midterm time, check in and see how the student's doing. So we're super excited about that. Traditionally, the orientation leaders work just in the summer. So because we've shifted models, we've been able to shift the activity of that important peer mentor for the duration of the first year for students. So it's all good stuff.
That's great.
Wonderful.
Well, again, I want to say also welcome. So glad you're here. And I guess I just want to, say what both of you have said, which is there's so many people that are involved in this, everybody from, housing and faculty advisors and everybody across the university who is so supportive of our students over the summer. The schedule that you just went through is obviously based on our sense of what do new college students want to know? What are they worried about or care about? So, I just think we just graduated 1,000 students, and all of these students just went through their commencement ceremonies or are in the next couple of weeks because high schools tend to be a little bit behind us. So either one of you, based on your experience, could you talk about the things you hear most that kind of people either are anxious about or are the biggest differences? Like, I am this big woman on campus, big man on, I'm a senior. I've been walking around the halls for the last 6 months thinking, I know this school, I know these halls, I know where I park. What are the things that you think are most challenging in the transition? And in some sense, then, how do we address them through this program?
I have thoughts. You probably have some too.
Yeah.
Maybe you go.
I'll start
it's
first. So,
yeah, go ahead.
in our conversations through the Office of Admission with students, generally there's two components. It's how am I going to afford this? How am I going to make this work into my lifestyle? And what is a college class like? How hard is it? They're hearing constantly for 4 years from their high school teachers about college is so challenging. Your teachers, are going to be this way, and they're not going to accept late work, and they're not going to work with you. They're inflexible, and so there's just a lot of stress that's been built up. And some of it may be true. College is challenging. I think Toni will talk about that. But also for us to reassure them, Lewis is a place that cares about you. We want your students to succeed. We want to support them. So I think those are the biggest questions that students and parents come to an orientation with is, assure me that my student's going to be taken care of, assure me that they can continue to work or be involved, how are they going to make friends, and what classes are they going to have.
Yeah, and then I think, into because I think you're asking also into maybe the first semester, first year, that transition.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is, students come in and families look at college with certain expectations, and when those expectations aren't being met, there's that dissonance, I think, that happens. And sometimes with students, it's making friends, right? Like, you talked about,
Simple.
right? Like, I walk through the hallways, I know who's going to stop by my locker, I know whose locker I'm going to stop by. And then you come here, and in many ways, for many students, you're starting from scratch. And at a point, that's really exciting. And then weeks go by, and it's like, oh, okay. So I think that's definitely something as students want that community and that connection. So we will be working to make sure that starts happening from the minute they step foot on campus for those Cornerstone Seminar meetings. I think the other thing is just that academic struggle. And that's,
Change.
I always say that's different for every student. For some students, getting a B is devastating. And for other students, it might be a lower grade, a D, an F, things like that. So I think that's the biggest struggle, is that disappointment in themselves, the fear of like, oh no, how am I going to get through this? So that's the other thing with those Cornerstone Seminar meetings. We'll make sure and talk about, what are your goals? How are you going to achieve those goals? And what if things go wrong? Who can you talk to? What offices can you connect with? And just helping normalize that, like this, as Ashley said, this is going to be hard. College is hard, and that's okay. And it's also amazing. And so I think all of the orientation components are built on that idea, so that students have all the good information and connections in order to get through that transition. And when it's not going well, hopefully they'll have somebody to reach out and connect with.
I think the other thing to remember is that these students, just like ours, are coming out of COVID. So their high school experience hasn't been 4 years in the hallways, hanging out the lockers, doing all the social
that's
activities.
Very, very important.
But
to
I also
recognize.
see it from my own kids in high school. They want that. They're thriving for it. They're desperately looking for it. So we have to be efficient at how we present them, motivate them, encourage them to meet somebody new every week. To, it's okay to call a professor, to stop by their office, to help in some ways and help them re-socialize.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and maybe the three of you might want to comment on this just briefly. So, because you just mentioned, so people are coming out of this strange high school experience, this up and down high school experience. Because we're talking primarily about undergraduate orientation, our undergraduate curriculum is going to be primarily in person in the fall. And so, as they think about scheduling their classes, though, there could be an option, right, that they could take one of their classes in a online format and 4 of them in a in-person format. So and I know, Chris, you're really involved in the setting of that overarching academic, but maybe we can move in a little bit into that scheduling of classes, right? What does that look like? Who do I meet with? Who helps me through that?
May I
Yeah, please.
say a couple things that I forgot to say earlier?
Yeah.
First of all, you just said something that I think we were planning on making really clear, which is that this is about traditional undergraduate orientation and experience. And we orient all of our students, and especially graduate and adult students and international students have kind of separate ways of being integrated and oriented to their Lewis experience. So we just wanted to make sure that that's clear. So and then the second thing is, I always forget, ask us at lewisu.edu is where you email questions, and we already have a few questions coming in, but again, if you're watching live, please email questions for our guests now. And if you're watching or recorded, it's okay to ask questions as well, and we can send them forward to whomever is the best person to answer a question that you have. So please use that. It's an email address. You can ask us a question anytime. So yeah, you're right. We are offering mostly in-person courses in the fall, but with more online courses and more hybrid courses than we would have done before COVID. So there is flexibility and choice, but maybe Toni, you can talk about how people manage that in their schedule preparation and their registration.
Sure. So students will meet with an advisor. For the most part, one-on-one, some small group advising will take place. And as I said, students are already in degree works in the course schedule. So we've sent them a video, here's how to do it all, and here's a little bit on how to know if a class is online, fully, hybrid, et cetera. And then they are going to send their advisor some information. So what type of classes are you looking for? Online, hybrid, on campus? What courses do you have in mind? And then the advisor will have a good conversation with the student and help them make the best decision. That's the other thing that's really important for the student to know is your advisor is going to guide you and give you good advice around what type of schedule to build out, considering all the things, right? If you're, you have family responsibilities at home or you're working a part-time job or something like that, those are good things to talk to your advisor about during your advising appointment so that you can create a schedule that works for you, but also does challenge you to be on campus so that you can get the full Lewis experience and meet folks and eat here and see the beautiful campus and do all those good things.
Yeah, I think that's really important. We had you mentioned this a little bit, but I just want to dig a little deeper into kind of who my advisor might be. So we had a question that came in about what if I'm undecided? So I think this person is kind of saying, well, yeah, if I know I'm a biology major, I'm probably going to have an advisor who's going to be able to advise me about what I need to take to make sure that my biology curriculum gets satisfied. But what if I don't know, I'm coming in and I'm kind of excited about, isn't college the place to explore these things? It's a great opportunity for me to look into multiple things. Who's my advisor likely to be, and where does that person fit maybe in the organization, and how are they going to help me in that process?
Yeah. So first I would say that's wonderful. Students who don't know and students who are unsure, that's a really exciting thing. Although I know when you're in high school, I remember not really knowing, but everybody else knew, and that felt a little, a certain way. But it's okay because many of our students, even those who have declared majors, aren't really sure. They're like, yeah, I'm going to do nursing, or yeah, I'm going to do criminal justice. And there's a little bit of in the back of their head, they're like, am I? So the idea of being unsure is okay. So if you are a student who's undecided, you'll be advised by a student success coordinator from Academic Services, which is my office, and they'll help kind of guide you and have a conversation with you about what are some things you're interested in, what are some of your strengths, what are some things you want to build on, what are your interests, and then help you develop a schedule that allows you to take some courses you're excited about in some content areas you're interested in. So it'll be a good conversation, and then for the duration of the time students are undecided, they'll be advised by somebody in Academic Services. So we work with students each semester to kind of connect them to faculty in other areas, connect them to career services, connect them to different online tools to kind of do different assessments and things so they can sort it out. But it takes time, and that's okay.
Another question came in around a different type of sorting, which is placement tests, and how do students know that they're in the right place or the right class, and how do we determine that?
Yeah.
So we've been communicating with them for a couple of months now. We do, as an institution, do 3 types of assessments. The most common one is the self-directed placement for the English department. So the students are completing a self-directed assessment tool. The English department takes the results of that and puts them in a course. For science majors in Coast, they will complete an ALEX assessment, which is an outside company. And again, the math department evaluates that to determine their course placement. And then the third one is a reading placement that Dr. Chris Palmy organizes for us. But I would say, in general, if students are working with their advisor and they're placed into a course that they're not comfortable with, whether that's too high or too low, is always, we always advocate, talk to the person, talk to your advisor about what you're comfortable or not comfortable with, and they will work through the process and communicate with the right faculty or departments about perhaps a different course that would be better.
And when do they do these 3 evaluations?
They do the evaluations prior to attending New Flyer Day, and then the conversation should be had during New Flyer Day and or after.
And just to, I think a couple things that I want to make sure, because 2 things have come up that just little comments that I guess I have. One is that we do this based on experience, and to the point, you can always have a conversation. You test it in a certain way about your reading or your writing, and you don't feel like it's the appropriate spot. Have a conversation. But the reason we're doing this is so you will succeed,
Yes.
right? It's really about success. We think based on where you're coming from, based on your skill set in any given area, that this is what our experience over many, many years.
Right.
This is where you'll succeed. And what we want most for you is that you'll succeed. Because I will say, sometimes people feel like, oh my gosh, why am I, whatever, why am I in algebra? I feel like I've taken out, or why am I not in calculus? My friend was in calculus.
Right.
But if you succeed and get your B+ or A in algebra, it's so much of a better start to college
Yes.
than putting you in a situation where you're not going to be successful, because then, you end up being really down at Thanksgiving. You're like, oh my gosh, this isn't. So we're trying to do that for you, but have a conversation. And then the second thing I will say is, as adults, and I just want to say this to any parents that are watching, but also the students, almost every adult will ask you, what are you going to major in when they go to your graduation party? Because we as adults are
know what
awkward.
else.
Right.
We're awkward.
What else
It's not
do I
because it's not because it matters. It doesn't matter at all. We ask it because we don't know what to say to you. So we ask you this question, well, what are you going to major in? And I do feel like, just take it with a grain of salt, because it's really about the adult asking you and their awkwardness, not because it really matters what you're majoring
Great
in.
point.
And I've tried to start, because I've been in this field for so long, of asking the question, what are you excited about college? As
Right.
opposed to, what are you going to major in? What are you excited about?
Right.
Because otherwise it's just like, when you don't know what you're majoring in, you have this awkward sense of like,
Yeah.
the adults all expect me to have a
Right.
major.
Right.
And it's just that we just don't know what to ask. so that's what we ask.
great.
I think,
Anyway.
yeah,
That's a good
the
point.
high school students, they feel two big pressures. How did you do on your ACT or SAT in preparing for that? And how do I pick a major? Again, I'm living it at home, and I understand and I see it now, and so it helps me approach my work differently. But that's a great conversation, a great point of, don't go to a graduation party and the first thing is, what's your major? And why did you pick that one?
Because you walk around and every adult in the
Yeah.
backyard that's
Saying
having a
that.
grill, that's the first question that
Yeah.
comes out of their
Yes.
mouth. I'm like,
Yeah.
why are we doing this to these students?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the good news is they don't have to answer the question about where they're going to college anymore.
Right.
Right.
right. Which
So
we're
that-
glad they're
that's
coming to
usually-
Lewis. Yeah. Yeah.
I would-
So, go ahead,
I
Toni.
was just going to add, just related to what you were saying about placement. I feel like sometimes students are like, they want to hurry up and get to that
Yeah.
class.
Yes.
There's just a rush, and it's like, you didn't even start yet. So I think I would just say, if you have a certain timeline, let's say it's 4 years, there's a path, there's a way to get there within that time frame. So take the placement information that you receive and know that it's okay, it's all going to work out, and it's important to take the time to learn the material in that class and not just rush through. I got to
Yes.
hurry up and
Right.
do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And the opportunities that are available, because again, and advisors can work on this, there are summer school options, right? If you want to
Absolutely.
get, you
Yeah.
want to get done in 4 years, but
Yeah.
you start here, and we have an option where you can take up to 18 credits and pay
Yeah.
the same exact amount. So if one of those semesters in your first 3 years,
Right.
you want to take an extra class,
Yep.
but start off strong. I mean, that's just my,
Yes.
Yeah.
everybody
Yes.
feels better when,
Good foundation.
Yeah, you get a
Yeah.
good foundation.
Yeah.
So anyway, Chris.
Another thing that people stress about is registering and getting the classes that they want. So, how stressful should this be for our students?
I'm going to let you answer that.
It shouldn't. I mean, it shouldn't be stressful, but I think just for new students to know coming into it, you're going to have certain ideas and maybe your ideal schedule, and you may get something slightly different, and that's okay. I think especially, some of our students might want, well, I want it all Monday, Wednesday, Friday because I'm doing this on Tuesday and Thursday. So the advisor is going to work with you, but you may end up with a Tuesday, Thursday in there too. And so it's thinking about, how can I take advantage of that opportunity of being on campus another day or being in class another day. So the hope is it's not stressful at all. But certainly I'm sure the students might feel a little bit of stress, but that's, we always say stress is on a curve. A little bit, you want the right amount of stress. But
Right.
students will end up with a full-time schedule, and they'll all be okay. So
So
and we'll
everybody
be
will
here.
get 5 classes. They'll get a
Yes.
full-time
Yes.
schedule.
Yes.
We have enough seats for people to.
Yes.
I think that's important for people to understand.
Yes.
And it starts early enough, as you say, it starts next week. That for many of our students, they have a job, sometimes 2 jobs, and they might have been, for our commuter students, they might have been working at this job for a long time, but they now have 2 months, to know what their schedule is, and then maybe they can adjust their schedule with their manager. So,
Yeah.
that sense of, I really wanted Monday, Wednesday, Friday, everything
Yeah.
there, so I can work Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah.
Maybe it won't work out, but again, you have
Yeah.
a couple months to work with your manager and figure out a new work schedule.
Yes.
Which I think, that's, and I think all those things, dealing with disappointments, modifying schedules. These are all great things to learn as you keep becoming, more proficient at, just negotiating life.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about, so we have parents who are probably watching, how involved should they be in orientation, especially, because it's virtual, it's possible for them to learn in the process?
You can answer.
Okay. So parents and families could definitely sit beside their student to hear, the welcome, the business office presentation, the financial aid. We know that's a family decision in many cases. And then there's also a brief presentation on some advising things and reminders. We'll close at that point, and then students will meet with their advisor. So that is when it really should be the student and the advisor. Certainly, though, I imagine lots of parents are sitting off over there, and that's okay to listen in. But I think letting your student take the lead there is important. So it's about having those conversations that you, whether it's about your student's schedule or what courses they're going to go in, talking to your student before they meet with their advisor, so that hopefully they have some notes, like this is a question my mom said I have to ask, so I'm going to ask my advisor, and let your student meet with their advisor. And then throughout the rest of the summer, those new flyer nights, parents and families are more than welcome to join those. We encourage them.
That's the purpose of those.
Yes, exactly, to involve them and make sure they have all of that information. And then there will be on-campus parent orientation, parent-family orientation, supporter orientation during Welcome Week in
And
August.
what happens at that in-person orientation?
So the schedule is still being developed, but it'll be things like, again, going over business office and financial aid, because we know that's something that we always want to be presenting and talking about. We want to make sure that parents and families know kind of how their students going to be cared for and what services and supports there are in terms of academic support, health and wellness, also just security on campus. We know that parents and families want to know that their students going to be safe here on campus, so I know LUPD will be involved. I think there's also discussions of maybe a student panel so that the parents and families can ask questions of current students.
Oh, that's great.
But it's still in the works. So those are just some things I know are being talked about.
So I guess a couple things that have, again, triggered it, for me as you've been talking. So one is about just this, again, I want to go back to this asking questions. So there are other areas besides just, asking that question about the testing. For some students or their parents, they can ask questions about, like, maybe we recommend in their financial aid package that they take a loan or that they don't take a loan. They can always ask questions about that, right? I mean, we start, again, with a template based on their FAFSA and what, but again, I think the best thing is to just engage in conversation. If you don't understand something, if it doesn't make sense to you, you thought you'd have a loan, you didn't get a loan, it's not a subsidized loan, all those things that are confusing for a lot of families. The other thing that I guess I just wanted to maybe you have some comments on or some reactions to. So there are some things that maybe people are not aware of. I know this comes out in orientation, but I feel like with our audience, so things like you mentioned, things that are available to them. So we have mental health counseling. Mental health has become a major issue in our society, and certainly for our 15 to 25 crowd. So I don't know if somebody wants to comment on. I can go seek out a counselor here on campus. If I'm not living on campus, I can also eat here. You mentioned that earlier, but I just want to reemphasize. We have multiple eating options, and of course, people can get in their car and go out and get a sandwich somewhere else. But I want people to know that they have that. There are gym resources available. These are all these things that people might have in their own community. Like I have a gym I go to, I have a counselor that I'm currently go to, but we provide these services, and I know this is a part of orientation, but just, I don't know if there's any
And it's part of
comments on any
thinking
of that.
about your daily schedule.
Yes.
And, if you have a gap, you can have all these choices about how to spend that time. And
Right. And sometimes you're saving a little money. I think sometimes our commuter students, they might be spending money on a gym
Yep.
up in Schaumburg.
Right. Yeah.
And then they have a gap between classes, and just bring your gym bag, and you can work out, and you don't have to spend that $45 a month on your gym, work out here, and you might make some friends, and you might
Yes.
feel like you belong. You started with, one of the hardest things is, how do I engage, find my friends when I'm at a new place? Going to the gym and working out can be one of those things, joining a club or organization, and we'll do all this in orientation too, but lots of opportunities on this campus.
The one thing I would say is I know we've focused a lot of our time on high school students, but all of these points are certainly applicable to transfer students.
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
absolutely.
You know,
definitely.
And our grad students,
And this,
you know?
and this orientation is for them.
Is for them as
Yeah.
well, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something I say, I have said in previous years in my welcome, is just because I think it's hard for people to fully appreciate just on the first day of orientation that the campus is really yours when you're a student at Lewis, and everything that implies, the gym, all the activities that are going on, going to lectures, playing club sports, playing recreational sports, just walking around and having like your cool little space that you like to sit in that nobody else knows about,
Yes.
and going in the nature trail and playing frisbee golf and all these things. It's really a community. It is like a town of sorts that our students are a part of, like immediately as soon as as soon as they start.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't think we can emphasize that enough, especially for first generation students,
Yeah.
Chris, because when you're a second generation student, you hear from your parents or sometimes your sibling who went to school ahead of you, I have this little spot on campus. I loved intramurals, when I was in college, that was my favorite thing. Or, this pizza on Thursday nights was the best thing. But if you don't have somebody who's done that before, you do have that question. Well, can I really use the gym? Is that can I do this?
Is that only for
And
athletes?
is it only for this group
Yeah.
of people?
Yeah.
So I think we just can't say often enough, the campus is yours. Take advantage
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of resources for you.
And we, just to kind of mention, so orientation extends into the first semester through Cornerstone Seminar. So much of what's built into that class is things like you're describing, where we're having students go and find health and counseling services, and we're having them pick an activity and take advantage of it. We're having them reflect on their academic goals. We're having them find their favorite quiet spot. So that all, orientation is a long process. It starts virtually over the summer, and then we get to campus in August, and then it lasts for that whole first semester and beyond, really, because the student will have that peer mentor. Sometimes it's a lot to take in at one time if somebody's telling you all this stuff. So the beauty of Cornerstone is it's spaced out, and it's, we provide information and experiences to student when it's timely and relevant.
Toni, could you maybe just give a little more broad perspective or answer the question, what is Cornerstone? Because you mentioned it a couple times. And
Yeah, sure. So Cornerstone Seminar, it's, some students will call it College 101. How do I be a college student? And so that probably is the easiest way to explain it. Some students,
and everybody takes it?
all freshmen, and a group of transfer students, and that's dependent on what they're transferring and how many credits they're transferring in. But it's really it's a support class. So you're among a community of other freshmen or other transfer students, and your instructor is called a first-year mentor. So that's a staff or a faculty member who has chosen to be with you in your first semester of college because they care about you, they want to be there in that very exciting first semester of college with you. And then the curriculum is all about learning about our LaSallian mission and what that means, helping students explore their purpose, understand what is vocation, related to the idea of exploring and not really maybe knowing your major or kind of your career path. We talk about academic success, we talk about learning strategies, we talk about health and counseling, we talk about, making friends and getting connected. So it's a wonderful class, and it's just an hour a week. For freshmen, it's an hour a week. It's a place to decompress, so if your last week has been a little tough, it's a classroom where you come in and other people are like, yeah, it is tough. Where in other classes, it's like, well, here we are, let's just get to work. In this class, it's a space where you can kind of take a breath and slow down for the week. The transfer section's a little different, the content's similar, but of course we know transfers' needs are a little different, so we spend a little bit more time around post-graduation, career services, and making sure they are aware of all of that good stuff, and some tools related to it, and that course meets just 4 times during the semester for an extended period of time. So our approach is slightly different because we know our transfers are different, but we still want them to have that support. So.
Great.
It's great.
I'm just looking at the clock.
Yeah, no, we need to.
So
yeah,
we
I was
have a
just
couple
gonna
other
ask if anybody
questions.
had
So
less.
can we do some rapid fire questions?
Let's
And
do it.
We will, and maybe we'll do a show about Welcome Week, in August when it's closer, because the last questions that I've been leaving off, or we've been leaving off, are more about that. But And you know, as you mentioned, Toni, like orientation flows through Welcome Week, and then Welcome Week also has kind of a bigger umbrella of, you know, engaging students in a multiple ways as they first encounter campus. Will I meet my roommate if I have one? You know, how do I get oriented to my residence life experience before the day I move in, I guess? Or is there a way to connect with my my people?
Yes. So I talked with Adam and Leslie. And so roommate assignments will go out in mid to late June. And then they'll have their roommates' contact information and can start kind of building that connection right off the bat. And then students will move in right before all of that Welcome Week kicks off. Students can get information online about their rooms and the buildings. They can come to campus. We don't, you know, the residence halls aren't open, but certainly if they want to come to campus and see the rest of campus, maybe even arrange to have lunch on campus with their roommate, they could do that. So once they get their roommate's contact information, they can take it and run with it.
And the last question is, I'm forgetting, what was it? I have to look. Sorry. Oh, are peer ministers involved in orientation or Welcome Week? Or how are they involved?
They will be involved in Welcome Week, or I should say they have been involved in Welcome Week, definitely. Kind of all those student leader positions and all those important current students are involved and have been involved in Welcome Week. So I'm sure they will be in some way, shape, or form.
Wonderful.
Any last comments from either of you, like last piece of insight or anything that you want to share?
No, I'm excited to welcome the new class coming in. Every class takes a little different shape, a little different personality. This one has been pretty eager and early with action, at least on the admission side. If you're watching today, don't forget to do your assessments. Don't forget to do your free worksheet, your advising worksheet. Those are a couple of very important data points that we need to help you make your schedules. So,
yeah, I would just say be ready. Be ready to go. I think that, as you said, lots of high school students are going through commencement ceremonies very soon. They're going to hear all those really motivational, inspirational speeches. So I would say grab a little nugget from that and carry it with you. Enjoy your summer. But when August hits, just be ready to go.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
It's great. Well, thank you, all three of you, for being with us today. As we said at the opening, we have one more show before we close out this season of Conversations from Stritch. So we'll be back next week. We'll be excited to be with you, and then we'll take 6 or 7 weeks off. During that time, we'll be orienting all sorts of students, getting their schedules set up, all of those exciting things. We're really excited. For those of you watching that are, going to be new students in the fall, we're really excited to have you joining us on campus, joining the Lewis community. We just wrapped up, as we said, all these celebrations of what happens 4 years later or 5 years later for students who are in your shoes today and all that they've accomplished. So we can't wait to meet you, and we look forward to seeing you in the fall. Everybody have a wonderful week. Many blessings to you and your family.